Right. Welcome everyone on behalf of the Cornwall Library to a wonderful event called Bosco Schell interviewed by Paige Dickey. Bosco Schell is a gardener like his wife Paige Dickey, and we're going to have a chance to spend time with both of them. As a reminder, before we start, the Cornwall Library is offering this free to the public, to our community, but we are taking a lead from the Metropolitan Museum, and we are recommending a donation of $20. If that fits into your budget, we'd be very grateful to have that donation made. If it doesn't, you are more than welcome to stay with us. You are part of our community. This is the first event that we've had using this particular kind of technology, so I hope you will bear with us if there are a few moments of glitchy uncertainty that might happen. Now I want to introduce Bosco Schell, who is a longtime gardener and a new Cornwall neighbor. We are very grateful to have him here. Bosco's real name is Francis. He was born in Hungary, and he started gardening as a child on his parents' estate. Both of his parents were gardeners. He came to this country during the war and went to Williams College and has had a long career as an editor and a book editor, magazine editor and book editor. He worked for the Reader's Digest for years and years. And he lived in France for a long time, and he had a country house there, and he gardened there. Then he moved back to America and had a house in northern Westchester, and he started gardening in earnest there. And he took classes at NYBG in the Bronx at a time when Paige Dickey was giving classes there as well. He didn't take her cocktail party, and he thought, oh, here's a professor. So that was their first sort of gardening encounter. My encounter with him was that he came to my garden as a visitor. Paige is one of the founders of the Open Garden Days at the Garden Conservancy. And so my house was on that. And this really nice, friendly, intelligent, informed man came and started asking me questions about the garden. It was so much fun to talk to him. I gave him one of my plants because, you know, you just want to share things with people that you like in the gardening world. So I met him in the 90s. Paige and Bosco met, and they got married in 2000. And as Bosco says, he became the undergardener then, because Paige was already a very established garden writer and designer, and she'd been living at the house in Duck Hill for at least 10 years, maybe 20 years by then. So they gardened together, and then 6 years ago, they moved to Falls Village, which is a neighbor of Cornwall, and we are very grateful to have them here. They garden in different ways, so I'll describe that in a moment, but first to introduce Paige Dickey, whom all of you know. You've probably all read her newest book. If you haven't, I recommend it. It's called Uprooted, and it's about the transition from her old house, Duck Hill, to the new place, Church House in Falls Village. It's a beautiful book and very thoughtful, and it has to do with being a gardener and how you inhabit, how you tread on the landscape. So she writes about what it was like leaving a 34-year-old garden and moving to a new place. And in it, she describes Bosco's greenhouse. And she also talks about the decisions they made together, but the way they inhabit that landscape is different. And in the new place, the old place, Duck Hill, whom many of you have probably seen, was a very small piece of property, very intensely cultivated. I mean, every inch of that was sort of worked and made beautiful. The new place is much larger, and Paige and Bosco have allowed that place to sort of declare itself. Much of it is left open, and in the woods there are trails, but not a lot of landscaping and not a lot of perennial beds, things like that. So Paige has chosen to engage with the larger landscape, and Bosco, who had a greenhouse at Duck Hill, has this beautiful small greenhouse here. And I wanted to celebrate that, and so we asked him if he would allow us to visit him here, and he has said that he would. So we're fortunate in that. But I just wanted to explain what we were thinking. during this period of quarantine and COVID and the pandemic, the Cornwall Library has tried to create places of refuge for our community. We've done this in different ways. We've done it through literature. We had series of readings and discussions that allow people to engage in something else besides the things that we're anxious about. And we've done it through gardens. We've done a series of Cornwall gardens and Cornwall gardeners. And I thought this particular place and event is a perfect metaphor for what we're trying to do, what we're all trying to do, which is create a place of shelter. And here we are in a snowy afternoon. It's snowing hard outside in Cornwall, Connecticut. And Bosco has created a place that is out inside the snow. It's warm, it's beautiful, it's fragrant, it's vivid, full of color and full of life. So we wanted to show you a place of refuge. And let me turn it over to Bosco Schell and his wife, Paige Dickey. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Roxana. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And thank you to the Cornwall Library for indulging us. And then hello to all our friends. Welcome to Bosco's greenhouse. It is his man cave. And Bosco, will you tell us a little bit about why you love this greenhouse?
Well, I love this greenhouse because we had one at Duck Hill. When we moved here, we decided we were not going to have one because we're going to simplify our life. So for 2 years, we did not. And I am a grower. As you can see, here are my babies right next to the entrance here. These are all my babies, and I had to put them somewhere. So one morning I woke up and I said, we need a greenhouse. And so we built this greenhouse, which is not very large. It's 16 by 12 feet. But this is where all my babies are, all the plants that I love and that I care for.
And you were going to say, I think, that you're not a professional.
Yes, no, I'm not a professional. I do it because I love to do it, and I do it by trial and error. So very often I get it wrong, but that's okay. And often I get it right. So I try to show you what I got right.
All right. And as we all do as gardeners, it's all trial and error. Bosco, tell me, because I love geraniums. I've always loved geraniums, and I see you have quite a collection. So start to tell us, tell everybody something about these wonderful geraniums here, these fancy leaved ones.
Well, yes, we do have a lot of geraniums, actually pelargoniums, if you want to be very, very exact. And of them, for example, there's this one. It's called Platinum. It's a single salmon-colored flower with fancy leaf. As you can see, it's variegated. And it's one of those plants that our dear friend Pepe Maynard years ago said, there are plants that earn their keep. Well, these earn their keep because they demand very little care, and they bloom on and on and on. They've been blooming literally since September here in this spot, and they're wonderful. You will see that we have amaryllis all over the place, or some of them in here, mainly because the colors match so beautifully.
Color echo.
Color echo. And one of the things about the joy of having a greenhouse is it's aesthetic. You like the way it looks. And this is an example of it.
Bosco, tell us about some of these other fancy leaved ones.
Okay, well, this is Vancouver Centennial. This is, well, depending on whether you like Mr. or Mrs., but it's Mr. Henry Cox or Mrs. Cox, depending on which catalog you look in. And I don't know how they work that out between them, the husband and wife, or how they each one claim the name. But anyway, this is Mr. Cox or Mrs. Cox. And this is Henry Olive, and let's see, what else do we have?
How about telling about that beautiful pale pink one down?
Oh, this one. Oh, yeah, well, that's not a fancy leaf.
No.
Well, maybe it is. I don't know.
It's
It is a lovely one. One thing that I did want to point out, Roxana referred to it, Gardeners is a wonderful community where everybody loves to give gifts and share plants. So there are a lot of, actually almost all the plants in here were given to me by dear friends. This one is called, if you believe it, Fantasia Apple Blossom. And Fantasia Apple Blossom with these beautiful pink flowers was given to me by Robert Reimer, who is working in Bunny Williams' greenhouse next door. And Bunny has a huge collection of begonias. So that's a favorite one. Then this one here, I've had for years and years. Somebody came to visit the garden at Duck Hill. I forget, he was a gardener, and came back the following week, and he said, I brought you this because you've got to have it. It's Mr. Wren. So please meet my friend, Mr. Wren, and look at these flowers, the red and white. This is an unusual begonia because it doesn't have very flashy flowers, nor does it have flashy leaves, but it's got these long trailing, it's called Cenoides, excuse me, yes, and it's got these long trailing, beautiful burgundy flowers.
How about?
And then this one, you may want to curtsy because this is the Empress of Russia. It is a regal Martha or Martha Washington, depending on what side of the ocean you're on. Begonia, which is Martha Washington begonias are really very fancy flowered, and as you can tell, I mean, look at all the curls and frills on this flower. So that's Martha Washington. And then as we move on, we have this one here, which is another kind of pelargonium. It is an ivy leaf one. When you touch it, it's waxy, it's ivy, and it'll spill. It's wonderful for hanging baskets. This one keeps on blooming, but it doesn't want to grow. So I don't know. I've got to talk to it. Now we have here, we have Grossen. It's called Grossengarten, which in German is large garden, and it is large. It's large with leaves, and it's also large with flowers. It's a very small leaf. It's a fancy leaf, but it's nice because it really fills in. It really fills the space. So we'll put it back. This one here, look at it. It's called Arctic Star. It's white, and it's tiny single flowers, and I think just adorable.
All right.
So then, okay, Paige, now you.
Well, maybe right here I see you have a lot of the scented geraniums.
Yes.
Which are a favorite of mine. So maybe starting with that peppermint one right there. Tell us about those.
Yeah, this is botanically, it's called Pelargonium tomentosum. It is peppermint. And when you touch the leaves and you smell your hand, it's just like having a peppermint candy in your mouth. I mean, it's just amazing.
And Bosco, that's a cutting you took.
Yes, this is
the peppermint geranium gets very big.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these get much bigger. And I plant this outside in the shade, and it's very happy outside, and then bring it in the fall. So this is one of the this one is a lemon. This one also gets huge. This is just a cutting that we took, and it's called Prince Rupert. And it's a lemon geranium. It gets huge, and its cousin is here in a variegated topiary form. This is also Prince Rupert. All right, and then we have this one is cinnamon. And this one, it looks a little bit like a bad hair day, but it's just wonderful. It's the apple geranium. And again, although it doesn't smell like apple, it smells more like, I don't know.
Camphor.
Camphor, yeah, that's the word, camphor. But it's just gorgeous the way it smells.
And it has white flowers. Nice.
Yeah. Here, meet Mabel Gray. She's just been cut back. She's one of the best ones. She's a citrus.
Lemon yellow.
Lemon yellow.
But
No, anyway, it's citrine. I don't know. Anyway, it's a lemon smelling, and it's like having a bottle of cologne in your hand. It's just wonderful. So that's Mabel.
Citronella.
That's citronella. Yeah, that's citronella. That's Mabel Gray. And then we have these are various, you can see, I don't know, they're apple, lemons, rose geraniums, rose geraniums. And these, in the days when we still had finger bowls, you put a leaf of this rose geranium in the finger bowl and it will make the water smell very sweet and your hands very sweet. It also was used in cooking, in flavoring. And it's a very happy plant. Again, demands not a lot of attention, but it grows very nicely. And there are a number of them. I have a number of them of different varieties. This one, for example,
Like Lady Plymouth.
this one is variegated a little bit. A little bit, you can see a little bit of white. This one is called, I forget what it's called. Oh yeah, this one is called granulens. Granulens, and it's very, but then for real variegation, you go to Lady Plymouth. And Lady Plymouth, I think, is gorgeous. And there is no Lord Plymouth, there's only Lady Plymouth. So
And
there's,
all these can be put in the ground in the garden in the summertime.
and then this one is Colenso. Now look at these, look at the tiny, this is a scented geranium, but the leaves somehow fold under. And what was the word?
It's called genetically challenged
Genetically challenged.
Pelargonium graviolis.
Graviolis.
And it's great fun.
Yeah.
And this one was just cut back.
Now, and then there's a little bit of a mixture here because there's some others that are not scented that I want to point out. This one that I love is called Apple Rose, and it's reputed to have been Queen Victoria's favorite geranium. It's a double white and pink, as you can. My favorite is this one, which is a tulip geranium. Double flowers, and it just blooms on and on and on. Anyway, so that's the geraniums over here.
Here on this table, we have some of the tuberous
Yes.
growing geraniums that are from
South Africa.
South Africa. So tell us what their habit is.
Well, their habit is because they're South African. There in South Africa, below the equator, they bloom in the summer, which is winter up here. So they bloom in the winter. Actually, they bloom end of February, March, beginning of April, and they're tuberous. And they have most interesting, small, but one of them brilliant red. This one, for example, is black. It has almost a black flower, glaucifolia. It's called glaucifolia. And then once they're finished blooming, the leaves start yellowing. You stop watering, and you put them in your basement. Forget about them until September. You bring them out, and you start watering them again, and then bring them back for this year. That's pretty much the rule for any South African plants. For example,
With the bulbs.
these are bulbs, okay? And this is albuca. It is called actually corkscrew, is it corkscrew?
Corkscrew.
Corkscrew albuca because of the corkscrew plants.
Spirals.
And this is just opened now, and it's going to probably grow a good deal taller, the flower will, and it'll become more yellow and also fragrant. And once it has done its thing, it'll start fading away. And again, in the winter, spend the winter.
In the summer.
Each winter, our summer, in the basement, and then come back. Now, and these are also South African bulbs, which probably everybody's more familiar with. They're called Balthemia. They can be yellow or they can be purple.
And here's a big one.
Well, I think, we have a huge one down at the very
Cherry
end.
down at the end, right here. It's about to bloom. This is a big Balthemia with pink flowers when it blooms. And it'll go dormant in our summertime.
Okay. And then we do have here a sort of a little bow to local farming. This is our farming. These are microgreens, and they're really quite wonderful. You sow it, and it takes about maybe 4 days, 5 days to germinate. And this is maybe 10 days old. And then you just cut the tops off and put them in your
And
salad.
which one is that?
This is the radish. This is
Radish.
the radish. We do it also with arugula and also with basil, whatever. So this is our little farm, a little bit of herbs. All right. So then where shall we go now, Danny?
Well, I think you should turn around.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. This is okay.
This is Bosco's sedum succulent collection. And every time I turn around, he's come home with a new succulent. But he will tell you all about them.
Well, I don't know if I can tell you all about them because I don't know that much about them. Yes, I do. I do know how to grow them, but I don't know all the names. But these are echeverias and haworthias, and you
Why
know,
do you love them, Bosco?
because I find them so architectural. These are aloes. I find them so architectural, and you know, you talk about flowers in the winter, and you say, "What are flowers?" Yeah, sure. Well, look at the flowers. Look at the flowers on the succulents. And this is I forget what's going on. I think I've got the name. I think I even have the name of that one.
And then I love this.
Yeah, I think this is called Echeveria aquaris. I love it. And look at that. It looks like one of those things carried in religious processions. And it grows tall. And this one, where is it? Okay, this one is called a mother of 1,000 because it drops its seeds and it grows 1,000 plants. But it's not to be confused with mother of millions, which is the very tall plant there, which usually has seeds whole length of it, and that's mother of millions. And then here we have these, we have sedums here, we have some,
Jade.
sorry?
Jade.
Yeah, we have some jade plants here, those are jade. And this is a wonderful one called Aurea. Now, then we get out of succulents. This is not a succulent, this is a eucomis, no, is it a eucomis?
No.
No, it's not. What is it? Echium.
It is.
Again, given to us by a friend. I can't emphasize enough how many plants we get from friends. This is given to us by Eric Brooklist from Stonecrop. And a lot of these plants, some of these, and some of my geraniums come from Lee Link, who's been very generous from her greenhouse. And so friends donate. Sometimes we exchange because I have too many plants, they have too many plants. But anyway.
And tell us about this, Bosco.
Well, this is Tradescantia. It's, I just have it for a minute.
Yeah.
Look at these three plants. I mean, we're talking about aesthetics. Not related, okay? Look at the shape of the leaf. This is variegated. Look at the shape of the peperonia leaf. It exactly echoes the echium. And then the color of the echium echoes the color of the Tradescantia, which gets, when it gets to be a bigger, has small, lovely dark red flowers at the tips. There, actually, you can see the buds.
So Bosco, talk a little bit about our cold frames and what we do with that.
Oh, well, that's Paige's specialty, the cold frames. I do a little something about it because I have done it myself or helped do it. You can't really see them because they're covered in snow right now, but our cold frames are out there. We have 3 of them, and in it are
spring
pots of bulbs, spring blooming bulbs, daffodils, some tulips, crocuses, hyacinths that Paige plants in pots and then puts them in the cold frame, cover them with shavings, quite a lot of shavings, and we leave them there for 12 weeks, about 12 weeks at least, and then bring them out. So when you bring them out, they look like this. See, they've just come out, they've just come out of the cold frame. And it will be in probably in a week or two, it will be this.
It'll be a crocus.
You say which ones these are now?
This is a species crocus. It's closed up today because there's no sun. It's called snow bunting. It's Crocus chrysanthus. And this, I just want to show you this because I think it's so adorable. This, believe it or not, is a daffodil. It's the hoop petticoat daffodil. And some of these small bulbs are so charming to force and have for your table or your desk. And here we have the hyacinths, and this is going to be a grape hyacinth, a muscari, when it blooms. So
these all are, this is another.
This is one that's going to bloom much later.
Yeah, I see. But this is another, if you will, whenever use for the greenhouse is to bring these things in and gradually adapt them to a warmer temperature and have them blooming. All right, so then we have.
Can we talk about red a little bit?
Yeah, well, there's red. There's red. This is red. This is a plant that I was at Home Depot, and I can't resist walking through a nursery. So Home Depot has a huge nursery, and I see at the other end of the hall, I see something so red, I can't believe it. So I go there and I pick it up. I've got to have this. Bring it home. I look at the label. It's a mandevilla. I'm not generally overly fond of mandevillas, but this was so beautiful. And look at the color red. I mean, it is just, and it's been like this since October, covered in flowers, and it still has buds on it. So it's a very good plant. And I just love the color of it. And so,
Amaryllis.
and the amaryllis was Pamela. Is it Pamela?
Yeah.
It is Pamela. We put it next to it to match the color.
And this, a favorite plant of mine, tell about this, Bosco.
Well, it's called the Queen's Tears. And I mean, if you can,
Bilbergia.
Bilbergia, and it's tears because it drops down. You can see that we have got two of them. It's a very simple sort of succulent. It just doesn't do anything. It doesn't demand anything. It just easy. But then at this time of the year, it comes out with these absolutely beautiful flowers.
So behind you, Bosco.
Okay, let me just
Oh,
fit with the oxalis. This is an oxalis. It's a wonderful plant. It comes in different colors. This one is white. I have some red and pink. It's a clover, basically, a clover plant, but lovely.
You got some.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what I forgot to mention? I forgot to mention. And then we have behind us. Oh. I wanted to mention that these are gifts from another dear gardening friend, Deb Munson, who gave me these. And then speaking of other gardening friends, this is a Plectranthus.
Cutting one.
Sorry?
A small cutting.
Cutting, yeah, it's a cutting of one that I made. It's a Plectranthus. It's sometimes called Mexican mint. Wonderful.
Zulu wonder.
This is called Zulu Wonder, yeah, but it's Mexican. They refer to the plant as a Mexican mint. And it becomes quite big and has gorgeous blue flowers at probably end of September.
And
so it's a
tell
nice
where
fall.
we cut it.
Well, we have it outdoors. We plant it outdoors under a shrub
In the gravel.
in the gravel, and it does wonderfully well. And this one comes from Jeff Lynch, who brought it to me from Chanticleer Garden in Pennsylvania. A beautiful, beautiful place. This is another one. This is called Cuban oregano. Plectranthus. This one is Ernestii. Anyway, these I also, and you see, look at the funny, big sort of bold roots that it has. And then this is my my citrus grove. I haven't had very good luck with citrus, but this one, this kumquat, has done well. And I got it as a whip 3 years ago from California. and I just wanted a kumquat. Well, they sent me a variegated one, which is very fancy. And I had it outdoors, sitting out on the terrace all summer, and look at the fruit that it has produced. So I'm quite pleased with it. And my other citrus is this one here, which I'm afraid is a little bit difficult to see. Kawamandi orange, and it gives these very small oranges. It's full of, I don't know if you can see, but it's full of baby oranges. Makes the most wonderful marmalade in existence. It's a lot of work to do, but it's really, really very good. And then
So Bosco, tell us, please, about your begonias, because as far as I know, you have always had a weakness for begonias.
we are in Begonia land, and please meet Madam Queen. I love this one because I actually created this from leaf cutting from a leaf that was sent to me in the mail with some other leaves by a dear friend, Peggy Watson in Maine, who's got beautiful, beautiful begonias. And 3 years ago, and for a while it just wasn't doing anything. And then I wasn't watering it, and then I said, well, I'm just gonna water it. All of a sudden it took off. So my conclusion is that these very smooth-leaved begonias really like water, where some of the others, like this one, like Marmaduke, this is called Marmaduke, or this one is called Bowerii. There's one called Jive, which I have somewhere. This one is Mutatus, also known as the pigskin begonia, because it just feels like pigskin. This is where this one here is the beefsteak begonia. So I have sometimes I call it unrequited love affair with begonias, because some of them like me and some of them don't. But I love them. I find them the leaves so interesting and different. So I keep trying all the time. And then these also down here, this is Begonia macrophylla, huge. It gets to me 3, 4, 5 feet tall. It's in bud, as you can see. It's about to bloom, and it's in its happy place. Here, it seems to be very happy. It wasn't so happy when we had it in the mudroom. So there's the lesson. And then finally, I just want to talk about this just for a second. Just for a second, it's the fishbone cactus, and it looks funny, but it is a cactus, and it blooms. It has flowers in it. So these are my babies.
No, wait a minute, I have to ask you something.
Yes.
We have a little bit of time
Oh, we
left.
do, okay.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you learned from some of our wonderful gardening friends in a greenhouse was that if you had things at different levels, you could get more plants in it. It made it more interesting. So tell a little bit about how you do that, and then I want to ask you about some of the hanging.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, the levels is, as Paige said, it not only makes it more attractive, it also gives you more room because you can cluster plants underneath. So these are columns that I got at a wonderful place called Campo di Fiori, just up the road, which has beautiful begonias, by the way, and wonderful pots worth really checking out. But anyway, I got 3 columns there. So there's 1, 2, and 3.
And sometimes you turn pots over.
And then I turn pots over. I mean, this is an example. This is how to get a plant to sit up. So it's sitting up. And you'll see lots of others. Then I made a shelf with turned upside down pots. And then we have the hanging baskets, which also give height. This, by the way, I want to mention this plant because this is known as the mistletoe cactus, or the string cactus. It's quite wonderful, given to us by a wonderful, wonderful friend, Robin Zitter, who has it from a garden in Bedford, the late Nano Lockwood's garden. It makes tiny white flowers at the end, and it is Ripsalis. Ripsalis, yeah, Ripsalis. And I just love the way it hangs. It adds a different dimension to the whole place. This I was bought as a licorice. I'm not sure what it is, but I like the silver, the way it sort of is an called Tahitian bridal veil. Has tiny white flowers, and it's just a different texture, a different, and then of course we have so and this one is okay.
Briefly, Bosco,
Yes.
can you tell us a little bit about the greenhouse and how it differs from our old greenhouse?
Well, our old greenhouse was a 2 bays of an estate greenhouse built in 1937, which this very clever gentleman in Concord, Massachusetts, Mark
Ward.
Mark Ward, put together for us, and it was nice. It wasn't very much bigger than this, but it was lovely. It had everything was old and recycled, but it took 2 years to put together. And so when we came here, we decided to have this greenhouse. I thought, no, I don't want to wait 2 years. So we got in touch with a friend, Katie Ritter, who has a greenhouse which was built by a company that was recommended by New York Botanical Gardens out in Ohio, Arcadia Glass Houses. And we got in touch with them, and they delivered this in pieces. Huge truck arrived, panels all piled up there with every screw, every bit of caulking, everything that was needed, the fans, everything that was needed to put it together. And this wonderful friend here nearby, who used to have a construction company, Bill DeVries, who loves greenhouses, took it on, and in 2 months put it all together, screwing it all together, standing on a ladder, and in 2 months' time we had it. So that's how it wasn't easy, because we really wanted to have a pit house to go down, so that you step down to. Well, it turns out we're on ledge rock, so we had to stop with one step. But anyway, and he was very conscious of insulation and all that. So this is what it became.
Bosco, if I know you don't have any more room, but if there was one thing or a couple things that you wish that you could grow that you don't have here, tell me what they are.
Well,
It's not too big. This is the same distance.
that was wonderful. I used to have gardenia. I used to have a gardenia that was absolutely beautiful.
Sadly die.
Here, well, that was at the other house, and here I tried it. And one of the problems with the greenhouse, which I think everybody will agree on, are the horrible pests. You know, all right, well, there's whitefly. Everybody knows about whitefly, and that's nothing. But there's something much, much, much worse, which is called mealybug. And it gets inside the plants, it gets inside the leaves and inside the crotches in here. And you go and you alcohol and you spray it, and it's just endless. So I've had to sometimes just throw out plants because they were full of mealybug.
So maybe explain the temperature in here and why we have the temperature we do.
Yeah, this is not as you know, it's not an orchid house, which has to be warm and very humid. A friend used to grow her orchids in her bathroom because it was just the right temperature and right humidity. But no, so this is not an orchid house. This is a cool house, which means that the temperature in that stove, which is behind you, which is a propane stove, is kept at between 52 and 55 degrees. So all the plants have to accommodate. Some of them like it warmer, some of them like it cooler, but that's what there is. And if they don't do well, we can have them. And so maybe some of the begonias would like it warmer. Sometimes we take them inside the house where it's warmer and see whether they're happier there. But that's what we keep it at. So that's it. As I said, this is my happy place. I come in here in the morning. I come in here at night before I go to bed, check on everything, see, and also, smell the flowers, smell the earth when it's wet. It's just wonderful. And it keeps me active and keeps me very happy. And I must say that a lot of these plants that we have here, almost anybody could grow on a windowsill. They don't need a greenhouse.
It's true.
We are privileged, we have a greenhouse, but I mean, maybe not this many, maybe an awful lot of windowsills, but pick and choose, and you can grow many of these plants. So happy gardening, everybody.
That's great. We have a lot of questions.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so
maybe we should stand back here.
Sure.
Where would it be good
actually,
place?
maybe right
Like
here.
here?
Okay, so can everyone hear me if I read the questions? I hope so. Okay, so I'm going to start in the beginning because there are a lot. The first one is you covered temperature control and humidity control. You talked about the construction, materials, maintenance.
Perhaps there's one thing I need to say.
Yes.
When you have a greenhouse, air circulation is extremely important. You have to have fans. You have to have.
We usually have 3 fans going, at least.
Okay. Is the roof of the greenhouse transparent or
No, it's not.
translucent? Okay.
It's not transparent. The one we had before got to be very, very hot. And this is not. Actually, the roof is propylene and it's not transparent.
It's translucent.
Translucent, yeah.
Got it. And what was the temperature again?
52 to 55.
Great.
That's how low it gets.
Yep. Okay.
It gets
Well, it doesn't get higher. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what
It
it's
gets-
set at.
it's
So that's as
done.
low as it can go. Yes, yes, yes.
It gets higher with the sun.
With the sun, when the sun shines, it gets a lot hotter.
So how do you manage temperature control and humidity control?
Temperature control with a thermostat. We have a thermostat. Humidity control, we don't control. When I do plants sort of control
Seem to like
humidity
it.
when I water them. It looks, I can always tell by the glass, whether it's transparent or not. And also, I do water the floor, especially when the sun's out. It really gives nice vapor, if you will.
What was the name of that small daffodil page? This one here.
It's the hoop petticoat daffodil, and the Latin name is Narcissus romuexii. But if you Google hoop
Mhm.
petticoat daffodil, you'll get.
Great.
I got it from bulbs.
What was the little orange that you had that was not a kumquat, but it was a little
It's calamondine orange.
calamondine?
C-L-L
Callow.
C-A-L-O-M-O-N-D-I-N-E.
Got it.
Calamondine.
Great. What was the name of the dark-leafed zonal geranium with the salmon pink bloom?
This was the garden.
Grosser Garten, O-S-S-E-R,
Okay,
and then G-A-R-T-E-N.
great. Since all your plants have different watering requirements, do you have to water each one individually, or do you, sorry, that was the first question. And then the second one is, do you have problems with scale? And if so, how do you control it?
Yes, not really.
Yes, but we do water individually, it seems. I mean, we water what needs to be watered. We
No,
don't.
but scale. No, she doesn't mean scale.
Yes, but the first question.
Yeah, okay, let's do the first question. Different watering requirements. So do you have to water each one individually? Yes, yes, okay, yes.
And not all the same as our dear friend Tova Martin says. You don't water on schedule. You water when the plants need it.
Exactly. That's great. let's see, another question. Do you grow summer plants from seed in your greenhouse?
Yes,
Yes,
we will
soon,
be soon.
soon we'll be seeding
Sweet peas is the ones you told
fall
me. you're
sweet
gonna be
peas and even, yes, I'll give Bosco some seed packets and say, please, will you grow me some of these?
Great. What is the secret to getting amaryllis to rebloom?
It is very difficult. I have tried, unfortunately, my amaryllis last year, mealybugs got in them and they just killed them. The secret is to keep them going and fed once a week, all through the summer, until about September, then stop watering, let them go completely dry. The leaves will shrivel, cut them off, let them rest, and then beginning probably in December or so, you start watering and they hope they'll
And
come back.
and you get blooms in April. I mean, that's the trouble, is that.
Well, it depends on, yeah. I mean, you get late blooms.
Yeah.
Some people, and I want to try that this year, some people plant them out. You put them in the garden, some corner, you can go where there's sun, they need sun, and just let them be there. I'm gonna do that this year. I have a spot in the berry garden where I'm thinking of putting them.
Let's see. Is there a greenhouse supply place that has trays and tables that you know of?
Oh yes, yeah. It's called greenhouse.
Supply, there's one. Greenhouse growers or supply.
Yeah, greenhouse supplies, I think, and that's where these benches came from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and we should show them the tables.
And these are, I mean, yeah, these are called benches, and they came. Again, they'll put them together. Have brothers, I would have wooden tables. It was going to take too long. And be more expensive.
Yeah. Can a tree be kept indoors in the winter in Connecticut?
What kind of tree?
Good question.
I mean, you.
A fig tree.
A fig tree, but I mean, I have fig trees sitting in the garage, but not in leaf. They're resting, and they will wake up probably in April. And they can be the indoors. You can have a ficus, certainly. You can have a big ficus.
Some greenhouse growers who have dirt on the floor, and then they can in the greenhouse. So we don't have that situation.
Another one. My one who's are very straggly and leggy. How do you make them grow fuller? Is it a cold or light issue? They are on and near indoor, but still can be a bit drafty. Humidity 10 to 20%.
No, I think if they're getting leggy, you just prune them back. I mean, the two secrets of geranium is to prune them and feed them. But I mean, for example, I will show you one that right now needs to be. Actually, I didn't talk about it, but I'll show you this. This is a wonderful pelargonium called Persian Queen. Okay, it has lovely flowers. It has lemon. It's totally out of whack. So I'll cut it here. I will cut most of this off. It'll hurt, but you cut it off. You've got to cut them off. I usually cut it right over a leaves, where the leaf joins. And you cut them back, and then you water them and gossip them. You feed them, not too much, but you feed them. And then that's how they become bushier.
Speaking of feeding them, what kind of plant food do you use?
In the greenhouse, I use either 20 or 15, 2015. Peters, usually. organic and it's great. And I use that outdoors, but in the greenhouse I don't, because unfortunately the smell is pretty overpowering.
And what do you feed the scented geraniums?
Same thing.
Same thing.
Exactly.
But they don't need a lot of food.
Okay. Where are the hanging planters from that hold this, that hold the cactus? Well, I guess this isn't really a cactus, right?
Yeah.
It is.
It
Okay.
is a cactus, yeah.
Okay.
The hanging fruit kind, I cannot tell you because they were from a friend who was clearing out her barn and wanted to know if I wanted them, and I said, yes, please. And we would like to have them copies. Because I have some more. And if you want to, anybody wants a close-up photograph, have them copy it, we can do that.
Can you explain how your fans are set up for ventilation? Is there a specific strategy behind
Well,
that?
the greenhouse came with a master fan, which is up there, which is on a thermostat. And well, actually, no, that's not a thermostat. I'm sorry, I misspoke. That's not a thermostat. This fan here for ventilation is on a thermostat, and it's connected to a vent over here. And when the temperature goes beyond what the thermostat is set at, that fan goes on, the vent opens, and that's mostly in the summer, not in the winter, and it sucks the air out. Other than that, we have two small fans. Particularly, I usually have one near the begonias. The begonias like good air circulation. But that fan goes 24/7, and it's been going for almost 3 years, 24/7.
Wow. Just seeing if there's other questions. I think that, let me just see if there's any other questions. Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat here to see what the other questions. Oh yes, what was the name of the dark, oh no, we did that one, the dark leaf zonal geranium with the salmon pink bloom. Okay, we did that one. Right, Grossengarten. Okay. And the shop that you mentioned for pots and columns.
That is Campo di Fiori.
Great.
On Route 7.
On Route 7 in Great Barrington.
Right. Great.
And yeah, the pots and wonderful.
Great.
Did I show the pot? I don't know if I did.
Yes, I think you did. Your kids are saying hello from Belgium.
Oh, thank you.
Just wanted you to mention that. And many, many people have commented. Thank you all for the chats, for the wonderful, heartening comments saying what a wonderful way to spend a snowy afternoon and how much they're enjoying this and how beautiful it is. I think that this is the, okay, I have actually, let me just see. I think there's one last question. Okay. Yes. One last question is, this is a very lucky person. They have just moved to a house with 2 greenhouses.
Wow.
And they want to know your advice. Where should they start?
Make sure that none of the glass is broken, first of all. And what kind of glass it is, because if it's just tempered glass, it really makes a big difference with the heating. That was one of the reasons why I elected not to have an old-fashioned greenhouse, because this has a much better glazing, and it doesn't demand that much heat. So that's something serious to be looking at.
And also, there are mail order nurseries where you can get plants. We love one, Bosco loves one called Geraniaceae,
Yes.
which is in California. And a lot of our geraniums came from them. And then there's Logie's nursery in Connecticut, which is a great source of potted plants. And then we get plants from wards, from local places. And then so many people give us things.
Right.
So that's how it accumulates. Right?
Also, beware that it's wonderful to have a greenhouse, but it's work. It doesn't come. It doesn't come free. You've got to really spend the time.
It's true. I wanted to also just mention, someone put this in the chat, so thank you for that, that Paige will be doing a book talk for her book Uprooted, and the talk will be on Sunday, February 28th at 4 p.m. and that's with the Falls Village Library. So you can register with them, DM Hunt Library in Falls Village, and that will be Paige's talk. And I think that's all from us. So
And-
I'm gonna turn it back to Roxana, but I want to, yeah.
We want to thank Shari.
Oh,
We want to thank Shari for
Shari, you did this.
keeping us all together.
Drove through a snowstorm.
Oh,
to
it's my
come and
pleasure.
film this.
thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. This has been wonderful today. I'm going to turn it back to Roxana, who's just going to say a few words. Thank you so much, everyone, again.
Paige and Bosco, this was a wonderful way to spend a snowy afternoon. You have done exactly what we hoped you would do. You allowed all of us to dream in this warm, scented, vivid, beautiful place. So thank you for that. Thanks to all of you for coming. And I'll say again, if you can find it in your heart and your budget to donate $20 to the Cornwall Library, we would appreciate it. And in any case, thank you for joining our community, and thank you again to Paige and Bosco. And that's all.
Great.